All right, y'all. So we finally made it. 2025 is officially over. 2026 has begun. But before we do any videos in 2026, before I start talking about anything in the future, I do want to look back at 2025 and everything that I played in that year. So this is in this video, I will be talking about my favorite games that released in 2025. Obviously, this is a very subjective list. I am going to have 10 games in here that I'm going to talk about. There's gonna be some notable games that aren't here, things like Split Fiction, things like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, just games that I didn't really get the chance to get to that I probably would have liked, but even then, even when I think about them, like I don't think they would really be knocking off a lot of the games that I have in this list. Overall, in this list, I hope to accomplish a couple of things. One, if you've never really seen like my channel before, if you haven't ever seen anything that I've talked about in this channel, I do want to kind of highlight a lot of games that I do like to play. I think I have a weird variety of games that I like to play, from multiplayers to platformers, action adventures, etc. I think ultimately, in the grand scope of things, I like a wide variety of games. So I think that's very reflective in my favorite games this year. Without wasting too much time, I am gonna hop into it. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment down below your favorite games and anything that I need to check out that I missed this year. The first game that I'm going to talk about is Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. So I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. Final Fantasy has been my favorite franchise since I was a kid. Since really I grew consciousness in gaming, Final Fantasy X is my favorite game of all time. I never played Final Fantasy Tactics before, to be honest. I played Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, and I loved that game a lot. I'm a big fan of like strategy RPGs, tactical RPGs, and Final Fantasy Tactics is one of those games that people have held in like such high regard. This is a lot of people's favorite Final Fantasy game, even a lot of people's favorite tactical RPG game, etc. And it was a no-brainer for me to like check this game out. I haven't beat it. I'm on chapter 3, like halfway through chapter 3, so I'm getting there. Overall, as a tactics game, I love it. I think it does a lot of really cool things. It is challenging as hell. I think it is very different than if you play like Fire Emblem or stuff like that, because it's okay to like lose enemies. It's okay to kind of like just aim for the objective. A lot of times you'll get swarmed with enemies, but really there's one enemy you have to kill. So even if like your entire team dies, but you take out the one guy, you can clear that level. And I think those are really definitely makes me think of things differently. The maps are a lot smaller than I'm used to in tactics games, so definitely different way to kind of think about and approach every battle in this game. Again, it is very, very challenging. I think if you're not familiar with tactical RPGs or strategy RPGs, I don't think this game is the one you want to start off with. With that being said, the narrative is great. The music is great. I love the whole diorama set that it has. The only like thing that I struggle to kind of wrap around my head is it's never, I think, the most convenient thing to look at. Oftentimes when I'm kind of like navigating the tiles, sometimes I like, you know, misdirect, or I can't really get to the tile that I want to get to, or get a good angle at what I want to look at. So that is something that is a little annoying. Obviously, I'm assuming that's something that was there in the original game. So, when you're remaking the game, there's only so much you can do to modernize it. With that being said, I mean, it's Final Fantasy Tactics. Great story, great strategy RPG. If you're into strategy RPGs, Final Fantasy Tactics is an amazing game. It is lower on my list because one is a remake, so I do ding it for being a remake. That being said, it is new to me. It is a new experience that I played in 2025. I think if I'd already played Final Fantasy Tactics before, it probably wouldn't have made my list. But because I've never played Final Fantasy Tactics, it is a remake that was released in the year of 2025, and overall it's just a great kick-ass game. So if you haven't checked it out, or if you have checked it out, definitely show some love down in the comment section for Pharmacy Tactics. All right, so the next game I want to move on to is Battlefield 6. I can't understate how much I love the Battlefield franchise. Back during the PS3, Xbox 360 era, I was really, really big into the Call of Duty of the era, Killzone, Battlefield. Those are like my favorite multiplayer games pretty much of all time. The amount of hours like I put into Battlefield 1, Battlefield 2, Hard Company, like all of these games that I just like absolutely love from this franchise, and it's definitely fell off from the graces, not just from the community and gaming in general, but just from my own personal opinion. Like, I haven't liked a Battlefield in so long. Like, probably maybe Battlefield 1 that I liked a lot, but it's just one of those games that franchises in general that I absolutely adore. And I had a lot of faith when Battlefield 6 was, first, being releasing trailers, first being announced, the closed betas, etc. There was a lot of great reception early on for Battlefield 6. And, I'm not going to act like 2025 isn't the year that Battlefield released and it wasn't amazing. Battlefield came back. It pretty much dethroned Call of Duty for a second, which is something that I think the multiplayer genre needed, is another game to kind of be a juggernaut within this genre of games. I think within the first person shooters, it kind of became, I don't want to say stagnant, but it kind of became like the heavy hitters and nothing can really rise to the occasion. Battlefield was kind of, I want to say, a dead franchise for the most part for the last almost decade, damn near. Obviously, there's certain people who play 2042 and like what it became. I could just never get into it. So Battlefield 6 was a game that I absolutely adore, from the map design to the destructibility, the vehicle combat, uh, squatting up with four people and just like having a blast. This is also one of the weird games I like to kind of role play in. Weirdly enough, sometimes I don't even care if I win. Sometimes I kind of just like to run around and like try to be a power medic and just revive everybody on the team. Or even sometimes like those type of things matter, right? Like, this game plays very differently than I think a lot of other multiplayer games play. Obviously, it's a big map and you're a bunch of people, destroying buildings and driving tanks and airplanes, and there's different classes that can help different situations, whether you're playing support or whether you're playing engineer, or God forbid you're one of those people who play, assault. That's kind of crazy, but ultimately this is a game that I had so much fun playing, and someone who absolutely loves the multiplayer style games, something that I can get together and play with my friends, play with my brothers, a game that I can kind of convince other people to hop in there with me, is one of my favorite times. Uh, Obviously, this game, you know, is just legacy, like, and it's just so cool to see Battlefield 6 kind of, bring hope back to this franchise. And as someone who grew up just adoring Battlefield, like, I can't express how happy I am that this game exists, how happy I am that this game is good, that this game has a strong community, a huge player base of people that are still playing this. I don't know what the future of Battlefield holds for, the foreseeable future, but at least it didn't go out, you know, crawling to its deathbed. At least it went out with a bang. At least, this game, if this is the last good Battlefield, like, we have this at least. And I'm glad to experience this, from, the betas to buying the game and just like having a blast throughout this entire year with this game. It's just been fun, and I can't understate that. If you haven't checked out Battlefield, you gotta check out Battlefield 6. It's definitely one of the funnest multiplayer games out right now. It's definitely very unique, very different. Um, if you're not that good, I think, at multiplayer games, Battlefield, I think, is a good way to hop in and kind of like feel like you're dipping your toes into a genre that maybe isn't for you. But, like, I see a lot of people who have fun with this game and they're not getting tons of kills. They're just getting tons of revives. Or sometimes all your job is get a rocket launcher and take down the tank. If you can do that, you're helping the team. You're helping the overall team. And those type of things, I think, differentiate this from other multiplayer games. I've seen people top of the leaderboards with very small amount of kills, and that is dope. All right, moving on to a game that I don't think made enough noise for as good as it is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. So Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is a 2D action platformer. It harkens back to the OG roots of what Ninja Gaiden was back on the NES. I wasn't a huge Ninja Gaiden fan from the 2D era. I kind of grew up with the 3D era of Ninja Gaiden. So that's where I'm used to. With that being said, like this game is developed by the team that made Blasphemous. I absolutely love Blasphemous. I love, The Messenger when The Messenger came out. So I really wanted to play Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. This was unfortunately coming out very, very close to Shinobi, The Art of Vengeance, which was a good game as well. I played it and liked that game as well. I know a lot of people love that game more than Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I like Ninja Gaiden Ragebound a lot. I think it's a arcadey style 2D action platformer that makes you feel cool and badass. It's still, very taxing as a game to kind of like learn and master. It's easy enough and has enough of a pattern where you can beat the game without too much of a struggle. With that being said, like you're gonna have to pay attention to what you're doing. You're gonna have to learn movements in this game, learn attacks, learn attack patterns, learn you're not gonna be able to beat every boss on your first try. I don't think I beat any boss on my first try. I think most of them was like by the second or third try I was able to beat them. There was one where I spent a lot of time on it, but overall, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is just a masterclass in what it's doing right here. I think it's a game that makes you feel like a badass ninja through and through, from the beginning to the end. I think it has a pretty interesting story. Like weirdly enough, if I don't know, I know that's not like the point of these games, but pretty much you're this ninja part of one clan, and you guys are against the rival clan, the Spider Clans. You guys kind of you meet an enemy, and you guys are forced to kind of share one body, and together you kind of utilize your skill sets. I think a pretty cool story that I don't think they needed to go that deep into what was going on or cinematic, because again, this game is about the awesome visuals, the awesome mechanics, the gameplay, just kick-ass soundtrack. Like this game has a lot going for it that it really didn't need a good narrative or anything like that. It could have just been as simple as like, "Hey, you're ninja, go kill demon," and I would have been perfectly fine with that. But the fact that I actually kind of really liked these characters was very interesting. I kind of like the villains. I think the villains were unique, and obviously, like they're demons. You're fighting demons, and you're a ninja who's fighting demons. Like I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is Shakespeare. This isn't anything crazy or too in depth as far as like the character writing and stuff, something like that. But overall, I mean, like two Ninja Gaiden games came out this year. Not to mention we also had a Shinobi game came out this year. And out of those three games that I played and I liked, this was my favorite. This was the one that I gravitated towards the most. This was the game that when this game came out, like I kind of beelined it to the end. Like I kind of just really wanted to play this game and experience it. And even as I like rewatch like my gameplay, it makes you want to go back and redo this game. I think this is a game that was just criminally underrated. And it's a game that everyone needs to check out. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Definitely, 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 please check out Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. All right, so I've already poured my heart out from uh, Mario Kart World already in another video. So check that video out if you want more in depth about why I really love this game. Mario Kart World, I think, is a game that gets a lot of flack, even though I don't think anyone can say it's a bad game. It's objectively a good game. It's objectively, great at what it's doing. I think if it's not the Mario Kart you wanted, right? If you really miss Mario Kart 8 Deluxe or whatever, I can see why you would hate this game. With that being said, as someone who really, really likes party games, and I spend a lot of time with with my family, and we have a big family, so a lot of times we kind of gather around and play party games. So this is a game that I love to play with my family. I love to have fun. I love the chaos that it brings. I like playing online even when it's just me by myself. I like the low barrier of entry for this game. Obviously, there's probably like a high skill ceiling that like people can, learn and abuse and stuff like that. But even if you don't want to take it that seriously, like it's just tons of fun from the soundtracks to the animations to the tracks, like everything for me personally, I have a blast playing Mario Kart World, and I know that's kind of maybe a hot take to say this is the most fun I've had playing a Mario Kart game since I was a kid, and I'm glad that this is a game that released for the Nintendo Switch 2 pretty early on. Obviously, I mean, on launch. So it's just a game that made me need to continue going to Nintendo Switch 2. I had like when I justify people buying Nintendo Switch 2, I definitely show them Mario Kart World, and I know the $80 price tag is it's definitely a price tag for people that you feel that that's definitely something you have to think about is do I want to spend $80 on it. I always recommend people getting the bundle. That way, it's a $50 game versus an $80 game. Sure, you have to buy a console, but if you're already looking at the Nintendo Switch 2, then you might as well do the bundle, which sucks that Nintendo kind of put you in a situation where you kind of should just buy the bundle over just getting the console by itself. With that being said, like it's Mario Kart at its best in my opinion, and I can't not put that on my favorite games that came out in 2025, you know? But yeah, I already have a video kind of going more into depth of why I like this game, so I'm just gonna cut it there. Definitely, a game that I don't think gets enough love for what it brings to the table. All right, here's maybe a weird pivot, and this will probably be the most, fluctuating from one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum for me. This is Silent Hill F. Um, I don't think I'm a big Silent Hill fan, so I didn't know exactly what I was expecting from Silent Hill F. That being said, I am generally a fan of the Silent Hill games. I grew up watching my brothers play them, and I never really felt the need to play a Silent Hill game. That being said, a new Silent Hill game was released in 2025, and I wanted to see how it played out. And I wasn't gonna, go to my brother's house and force him to play it for me. So if I wanted to see how this game played out, I had to play it out myself. And surprisingly, really loved Silent Hill F. From the narrative to the gameplay to the spookiness. Like this is generally a game that I was scared of. I remember when I first got it. I stayed up to like 2 in the morning playing this game, and I was genuinely scared from when I was playing. After a while, definitely stops being scary. Like I think most horror games have that effect, where the longer you play, the least scary it becomes. With that being said, it wasn't a long game. I think I beat it in 10 to 11 hours. You can check my review on the channel for more details again why I love this game. But overall, man, like Silent Hill F was such a big surprise for me. Like I knew it was going to be a game that I liked probably, and I couldn't pinpoint exactly what I was expecting, what I wanted from this game, but I knew I wanted something that was just creepy and weird and spooky, and this game hit everything. There was a lot of moments that made my skin crawl because it was just so hard to look at. There was a lot of moments that I generally just had fun playing the game, from the puzzles to the combat to navigating the world. Obviously, every game was with its faults. There's definitely things that if this game was even an hour or 2 hours longer than it was, I probably would have not have it placed so highly on my list. But because it's such a compact story that you kind of get in and out of it without really it being too much of a time sink, it definitely plays to its favor. This is a game that you can replay it if you want to. I'm gonna be honest, for me, it's not a game that I would have wanted to replay. Maybe like 2 or 3 years from now, I might want to replay this game or show it to somebody else on a replay. But it's not a game that I personally want to replay off rip. I know there's definitely people who you know, beat the game and then beat it again, beat it again, and beat it again so they can get the different, endings. And mad kudos to y'all. For me, it's not that game. But for the playthrough that I got and for the ending that I got, I'm satisfied, and generally was just caught off guard by this game. Like Silent F is a game that I didn't think would have made a top 10 for me. And there's definitely a game that when I look back at 2025, I'm gonna remember my experience with this game. All right. So Hollow Knight Silksong released in 2025, and I absolutely adored the first Hollow Knight game, and this is a game that obviously everybody in the gaming, sphere has been waiting for the sequel to finally release. It became such a meme for Hollow Knight Silksong's release date, and to finally get it and it be kind of everything we expected. Like I don't think anyone was caught off guard with how much this game is very much like Hollow Knight, but it is definitely one of the best games I played this year. From the navigation to the world to the soundtrack to the atmosphere. Like I think this game, when you think of atmosphere in a game, this game nails its atmosphere, its ambiance. The combat is so silky smooth. You feel like such a badass when you're playing as Hornet. This is a game that like the more I play it, the more I just fell in love with the world, the navigation and the characters, the weird NPCs you run into and their lore and how they kind of teach you more about. the place that you're at, the more you're learning as you navigate this, this world makes you feel more immersed in what's going on. I like that Hornet as a character definitely, does this game justice. Hornet as a character that I think is such a badass. I think the more Hollow Knight kind of evolves as a franchise, the more they have to offer, I think, the gaming space. And yes, this game is very, very much similar to, its predecessor. And personally, I don't think that's a bad thing. I know a lot of people will get mad at games for being too iterative and not, revolutionizing anything. And I think that's what this game is. The game is very, very iterative. A lot of the ambience and the atmosphere comes from the original Hollow Knight. I think it's a lot more lively than I think the first one was. The first one was definitely a lot more hollow. Didn't check the joke. But overall, like I think this game was just such a step up from the first one. I wouldn't say this game replaces the first one per se. I think there's definitely certain people who would like this one over the first one and the first one over the second one. I think if you're into like exploration and navigating a world, Hollow Knight the first one does it better, but I think this game does combat better. And I think this game has better bosses than the first one. So I don't know. It's kind of a toss up whether or not they outdid themselves, but I definitely think they did a kick ass job with Hollow Knight Silksong, and I can't wait to see them expand more on this franchise. Whatever Team Cherry has next for for us, I'm very excited for Hollow Knight Silksong. Obviously, like there's tons of YouTube channels and videos that will sing this game praises. Probably do a way better job than me, so definitely show some love. Um, Let me know down below your guys' thoughts on this one. All right, so when we talk about iterative sequels, Ghost of Yotei is probably king of the most iterative sequel that released in 2025, and it got a lot of flack for it. I think a lot of people definitely poo-pooed on this game because of how iterative this game was. For me personally, as someone who's a big fan of Ghost of Tsushima, and I thought Ghost of Tsushima was probably one of my favorite open world games that I've played in probably a very, very long time. Ghost of Yotei finds ways to improve in every single way on what Ghost of Tsushima did. And I there was things that Ghost of Yotei improved that I didn't even think needed to be improved, but now that I played them improved, it's like wow, I don't know if I can go back to another open world game because this game was just such an amazing feat in open world creation. Every corner was just jam packed and dense with things to do that were fun and engaging, and the combat system is so awesome. I love fighting people in this game. I would actively go and just look for people to fight. And I think this is a game that in 2025, if I just think, what is the most popcorn blockbuster type video game, Ghost of Yotei is that. It's epic, it's cinematic, it's, you know, great, great, great soundtrack, amazing combat, kick-ass world, a story that, again, if it's a revenge story, right? So you're not gonna get caught off guard with a lot of the twists that this game is trying to do. With that being said, like I don't think every game needs to be so narratively dense where, you know, that's what you're going there for. I don't think Ghost of Yotei is the best narrative that released in 2025, but it's definitely a very serviceable narrative. For me personally, I think Atsu is one of the most badass characters that came out that I was introduced to in the year of 2025. I think narratively they blew Ghost of Tsushima out of the water, which I know isn't a high bar, but it's definitely something that they improved on, and that's just scratching the surface on all the improvements that Yotei does on what was already a really great game in Ghost of Tsushima. I have a review on the channel if you guys want more detail about a lot of the things that I love about this game, but ultimately, Ghost of Yotei, again, where other games were big surprises to me, Ghost of Yotei I don't think was a surprise. It was just more of everything that I love in gaming. From combat to music to characters to world building. Like a lot of it was just everything done at its finest, and mad kudos to Sucker Punch for releasing an awesome kick-ass sequel to an amazing game. It's again, the sequels just keep coming. Hades 2, like this is a game that I just freaking love, man. I loved Hades and I love Hades 2. Again, another game that was very iterative on what the first one did. They definitely added a lot, and for better or for worse, I hear a lot of people who didn't really like the hub world too much. They said that there was probably too much going on, and I can agree to that to a certain point. I definitely think there is a lot in the hub world that definitely it definitely cuts in the momentum, but a lot of it helps you build more, you know, differences in your playstyle. A lot of it forces me to try out different things in this game, whether it's like more magic, more heavy attacks, more, you know, casting, etc. Like definitely this is a roguelike game that for me is forces me to not kind of double down on a specific type of run, but kind of survive with what I'm given. There's a lot of ways to kind of augment your playstyle, to try to augment your run, and I think that is pretty much the defining factor of roguelikes is how much can I tweak this specific run to a certain style and see how far I can go with that. The more I kind of played this game, the more I kind of found different uses for different skills and the way I was able to kind of pair different pathways together, you know, whether it's, you know, adding damage to my casts or making things, you know, faster or slowing down enemy projectiles. It's a lot of stuff that as I played through Hades 2 and the more I played through Hades 2, the more fun I have with this game. This is a game that was kind of a slow build for me, where I knew for a fact off rip I was having fun, but I knew I was gonna have fun because I liked Hades, so there was no way I wasn't gonna not have fun with Hades 2. It's more Hades, but the more and more I played it, the more I just like fell in love with this, and it's in its own way, right? You know, the characters, you know, Melanois, like I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Melano, whatever. Amazing, another really cool kick-ass protagonist. I think 2025 was kind of defined by its kick-ass protagonist, and you know, another great world to kind of just navigate and enjoy. I liked all the characters that I'm meeting, and yes, does it get annoying the 30th time Nemesis is talking shit to you? Yeah, it does. Can you just skip it or ignore it? Yeah. Like I don't think, you know, every conversation is necessary to understand the impact of every character in this world. With that being said, like it doesn't hurt to talk to everybody, and if you don't want to, just skip past them. You know, again, it's not going to hinder your playthrough. So overall, again, Hades 2 is a game that I know gets a lot of love this year, but definitely needs more love. This is a game that is objectively freaking perfect. When I think of a perfect game, Hades 2 is there. Gameplay, music, art style, characters, addicting gameplay loop. Like it's just freaking kick ass and it doesn't get enough love. So here's me shouting out Hades 2. I don't have a review on a channel or anything like that, but hopefully I get more time and I can review that game. All right, so we're at the final top two, you know, games of 2025, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is by far my second favorite game that released in 2025. It is probably one of the games that I put the most hours in. I think within like 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I put almost 100 hours into this game. Again, I spoke earlier how I'm a big fan of multiplayer games. And Arc Raiders is very, very unique in what it's doing. I know obviously there's been extraction shooters before, like Escape from Tarkov, etc. But for me, I never played those games. So I can't say how much better this game is than other extraction shooters or other games within its genre. The only thing I can say is this is definitely the first game that made that genre seem accessible, made it seem like I could play that game, I wanted to play that game, I could enjoy that game, and I just absolutely love this game. I do have a review on the channel that's already spilling my guts about this game, so I'm gonna try to keep this as short as I can, especially because this video is running very much longer than I expected it to. But then you know it is what it is. Um, Arc Raiders, man, from the world to just the anecdotes that this game brings. Every time I would do a run with me and my team, like afterwards, we would just kind of like talk about that run. You know, whether it was we took down something cool, something amazing, whether we took down another team, whether another team took us down. Like it was just such a fun game. It's so dynamic. It's so alive. This is like the definition of a live service game, in my opinion. This game is so alive from all the updates that you know Embark is doing, all the cool things that they're doing to tweak this game to make it slightly different. A lot of that stuff is just kind of just feel like it's ever changing. Every time I load into a server, into a map, etc., like everything just feels like anything could happen here. I can get ambushed by arcs. I can get ambushed by a team. I could partner up with a team to take down a giant arc. Stuff like that just feels so cool. I recently did the expedition, so I pretty much like, cleared out my inventory, etc. And I didn't know how I was gonna feel about that. But afterwards, like you know, it just, again, it makes the game more fun. A lot of these things for me personally, like, it's so engaging. This is a game that I can't wait to see what this game is in, the years to come. I'm excited for the community and the player base and everyone who's just absolutely enjoying this game. Not to mention the content creators who are making content on this game are just phenomenal, peak cinema, and I enjoy the ever loving hell out of, like, the content community that is farming the hell out of this game for clips and for live streams and for shorts, etc. Like, again, it's just a game that I'm so grateful released this year. It's a game that I can't believe really released this year because I just have so much fun playing this game. And, like, I guess I went way over the time I want to talk about this game, but it's just such a good game. Like, even though it gets a lot of, I guess, hate for, the AI and all this other stuff, like, you can't take away that this game isn't an awesome, amazing multiplayer game. And other games need to look at what Embark is doing and try to find ways that they can implement the philosophy that Embark is using, whether it's, the small tweaks to the environment, whether it's, creating all these events, whether it's creating all these type of situations to play out for the player base to kind of engage differently with this game. It's just so kick ass. Um, Obviously, there's tons of videos who sing this game praises. I have other videos talking about this game, so go ahead and check those out if you're interested. But I'm just gonna leave it at that. Arc Raiders, it's just such a kick-ass game. All right, so we made it to the best game, my favorite game, objectively the greatest game of all time. I'm kidding, but just, I mean, like, everyone's already sung this game praises. Obviously, Claire Expedition is, like, the best game they released in 2025. And I'm not a crazy person for saying that. Obviously, tons of people like the Jeff Keighley's obviously sung his praises. Every gaming outlet has already, you know, successfully dropped to their knees for this game. Like, it's just an amazing game from narrative to combat style to art style to world building. As such a big Final Fantasy fan, such a big RPG fan, like, this game is paying so much homage to, my favorite games that I've ever played. And this feels such like, I think, a modern day version of games that we would get in, like, the PS2, PS3 era. I think this game is doing a lot of things exactly the way it needs to be done. I think when you're playing homage to games that you love, games that you're inspired by, this is how you do it. You put your own spin on it, your own flavor, your own twist, your own style, and you just do it your way. And that is exactly what Claire Expedition is doing. It's pulling from games like Final Fantasy X. It's pulling from games like Persona, but it's not doing it in a way that makes it feel like it's just a ripoff, right? It's doing it in a way that's making it uniquely, wholly its own style, its own game. And that is just, you know, the most amazing thing to see in 2025. Such, again, like, whether you think them indie or not, whether you think them a small team or not, regardless of the fact, they're not a big AAA studio, right? They're not EA, they're not Sony's Naughty Dog, they're not those companies. They're their own smaller version of that, and they took such a huge swing with this game, and they freaking home run out the park. They just blew everyone's expectations out of the waters. Obviously, I was looking forward to this game from release, from announcement. I was looking forward to this game. I already knew, for me personally, I knew it was going to be a game for me. I didn't expect it to be a game for everybody. I didn't think tons of people were going to sing this game praises like that. I did not expect this game to win Game of the Year, before we went into 2025. It's just a game that blew everybody out of the water. Again, obviously, I'm a huge RPG fan. This game is speaking to me on levels that I can't even, like, express fully. I do have a review on the channel. I might have to do another review because I don't remember if I really liked that review. To be honest with you, I was kind of like getting back into content creation, so I didn't really know exactly um, how rusty I was. But just overall, man, like, this game, like, I remember off the beginning of the game, like the intro and everything. I was immediately nostalgic for a game that I had just turned on and I just played. And every time I go back and I look at gameplay or look at anything else, like I just get so much more nostalgia for this game, and it's a game that I want to be playing, you know, next year and the next year. Like I probably would like just dabble in this game just to re-experience that feeling, when you feel something special and something unique and something different. I do think there's a lot of new criticism on this game where people are saying that it's maybe, using AI or maybe not as great as other people think it is, and that's fine. I personally, for me, I never expected people to like this game the way people like this game. That's me. I knew I was gonna like this game, and for me, this is my favorite game that released this year because it just has everything just great. Obviously, it's with its faults. If you don't like the navigation system, there was maybe some clunkiness between balancing. Yeah, definitely. Like definitely, there's faults within this game. But for me personally, I just absolutely love this game, and you know, it's just such a great way to see 2025 have this story of this underdog team that kind of developed this game. That's their passion project, and it just resonate with so many people, and we can't take that away from them. Like you just can't. You know. Anyways, you guys, that's gonna be my top 10 list. Let me know down below your guys' favorite games that released this year. And if need to play something like Kingdom Come Deliverance or something, let me know that as well. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.